January 18th, 2026, 4:37 p.m. Moscow time. A single data point appeared in a Russian central bank spreadsheet with zero media coverage. $326.5 billion. The reported value of Russia's gold reserves, up $130.8 billion in 12 months. The largest single-year appreciation of any sovereign gold holding in recorded history. And here's what makes this number a monetary earthquake. Russia didn't buy more gold to achieve this valuation surge. They actually sold 6.2 tons, while Western sanctions were supposed to be crushing their economy. While the G7 celebrated freezing $300 billion in Russian forex reserves, gold went from $2,600 per ounce to $4,400, a 70% increase in 12 months. Russia, sitting on 2,329.63 tons of physical gold, locked in Moscow vaults where no Western government can freeze it, sanction it, or confiscate it. Just watch their strategic reserves appreciate by $130 billion while doing absolutely nothing. They didn't print currency, didn't issue bonds, didn't beg the IMF for bailouts. They held gold. And gold rewarded them for understanding the oldest rule in monetary history. Real assets beat paper promises every single time. I'm Marcus Caldwell, and what I'm about to walk you through isn't geopolitical speculation. This is central bank balance sheet data, commodity accumulation patterns, and reserve currency transition mathematics that's unfolding in real time. The Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, every Western institution that spent 20 years dismissing gold as a barbarous relic. They're about to learn why physical assets can't be sanctioned, because Russia isn't accumulating alone. When you add China's $300 billion in official gold holdings, India's $115 billion, Saudi Arabia's accumulation, UAE purchases, Iran's reserves, you're not looking at $300 billion. You're looking at $1.7 trillion minimum by 2027, and the Fed has zero policy tools to counter it. You can't sanction gold, you can't print gold, you can't quantitative ease your way out of commodity mathematics. Let me show you exactly what happened, because mainstream financial media is reporting this as routine market fluctuations. They're missing the 30-year strategy that's been executing in plain sight. 1999, Russia held 384 tons of gold worth approximately $4 billion. The U.S. held 8,133 tons. Germany, 3,400. The West dominated global gold reserves. Russia was a minor player. Reserves were 97% dollars and euros, only 3% gold. Standard Western portfolio theory. Gold doesn't pay interest. Better to hold treasury bonds that generate yield. Then two events changed everything. 2003, the U.S. invades Iraq. Saddam Hussein's regime gets toppled, and one of the first actions occupying forces take, they seize Iraq's gold. Not much media coverage, but every central banker on earth took notes. Gold stored in your own vaults is yours. Gold stored in New York or London vanishes the moment you become an enemy of the West. Lesson learned. Second trigger, 2008 financial crisis. The Federal Reserve launches quantitative easing, prints $700 billion, then $1 trillion, then $4 trillion to bail out banks. Russian economists watch the dollar lose value in real time and ask a simple question. If the U.S. can print unlimited dollars during every crisis, why would we hold reserves in dollars? Why trust paper promises from a government that creates new currency at will? The answer, you wouldn't. Not if you think strategically. So in 2009, Russia starts buying gold. 40 tons here, 60 tons there. Nothing flashy, just consistent methodical accumulation every quarter. By 2014, they hold 1,140 tons. Then February 24th, 2022 happens. Russia invades Ukraine, and the West responds with the most comprehensive sanctions package in modern history. The U.S. and EU freeze $300 billion of Russian foreign exchange reserves. Overnight, Russia lost access to nearly half their total reserves. But here's what the West couldn't freeze. The gold. The 2,300 tons sitting in Central Bank of Russia, vaults in Moscow. That gold was physically in Russia, under Russian control. No Western government could touch it. No sanction could affect it. No freeze order could move it. Before I show you how this triggered a global monetary shift, if this kind of institutional reserve strategy analysis is valuable to you, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This channel exists to decode central bank positioning and reserve currency transitions that most investors don't see until it's too late. Your subscription directly supports independent financial intelligence that tracks where the smart money is actually moving. Now let's examine what happened after the freeze. China saw this. India saw this. Saudi Arabia saw this. Every country that's ever had tense relations with Washington realized the same truth. Holding reserves in dollars or euros, storing those reserves in Western banks, that's not safety. That's leverage. That's giving your adversary a weapon to use against you the moment geopolitics shift. The response was immediate across non-Western central banks. Diversify, accumulate gold, store it domestically. And this is where the strategy shifts from defensive to offensive. Between 2022 and 2025, Russia continues producing 340 tons of gold annually. They're the world's third largest gold producer. The government implements a new policy. Domestic gold production must be offered to the central bank first. Private Russian mining companies cannot export without approval, cannot sell to international buyers without permission. The state gets first refusal on all production at market prices paid in rubles. This creates a closed loop. Russian miners extract gold from Russian ground. Central bank buys it with Russian currency printed by Russian monetary authority. The gold never touches London, never goes through New York clearing, never enters the Western-dominated pricing system. It stays inside Russia, accumulates in vaults, strengthens the monetary base. Now let me show you what happened in 2025. January 1st, 2025, Russia's gold valued at $195.7 billion. Physical tonnage approximately 2,336 tons. Gold price $2,600 per ounce. By September 2025, Russia's National Wealth Fund sells approximately 64 tons to cover budget deficits. Total Russian gold holdings dropped by 6.2 tons over the year. They're net sellers. But here's what happens to the value. Gold price goes from $2,600 to $4,400, a 70% increase in 12 months. By January 1, 2026, Russia's gold valued at $326.5 billion. They sold metal, tonnage went down, but value increased $130.8 billion. That's a 67% return on an asset they're actively liquidating. Russia is selling gold to fund government operations and still making record gains because the appreciation rate exceeds the liquidation rate. That's not investing. That's monetary strategy. That's holding the one asset that can't be debased, while every fiat currency on earth loses purchasing power simultaneously. And Russia isn't alone in this accumulation pattern. China doesn't publicly report gold purchases in real time. The People's Bank of China updates holdings sporadically. Sometimes months go by with no updates. Then suddenly, they announce 200-ton purchases. This creates strategic ambiguity. Western analysts can't track accumulation patterns, can't front-run purchases, can't apply market pressure. According to official data, China holds 2,298 tons as of mid-2025, worth approximately $300 billion at current gold prices. But many commodity strategists believe the real number is significantly higher. China is the world's largest gold producer at 380 tons annually. Just like Russia, domestic Chinese production goes to state-controlled entities first. It doesn't hit international markets, doesn't get exported, gets absorbed into the system and vaulted. Some estimates put China's actual gold holdings, when you include sovereign wealth funds and state enterprises, at over 4,000 tons. If that's accurate, if China's real position is 4,000 tons at $4,400 per ounce, you're looking at $560 billion in gold. That's bigger than Russia's entire GDP. That's a monetary war chest that can back an alternative reserve currency for decades. India officially holds 880 tons worth $115 billion at current prices. They've been buying steadily. In 2023, India bought 28 tons, 2024 16 tons, 2025 another 24 tons. The Reserve Bank of India explicitly stated that gold accumulation is strategic national policy, not speculation. Now add the new BRICS members. Saudi Arabia officially joined BRICS in January 2024. UAE joined, Egypt joined, Ethiopia, Iran. When you add original 5 BRICS members plus new entrants, you're looking at approximately 6,000 tons of gold. At $4,400 per ounce, that's $852 billion in current value. But here's why. 1.7 trillion is the target number. BRICS has a stated objective. They want to control 65 to 70% of official global gold reserves by 2027. Total central bank gold holdings globally approximately 36,000 tons. 70% of that is 25,200 tons. BRICS currently holds 6,000 tons. They need 19,200 additional tons to hit target. 19,200 tons at projected gold prices of $6,000 to $7,000 per ounce by 2027, because the buying pressure alone will drive prices higher, equals approximately 1.7 trillion minimum. That's the strategic objective, and they're on pace to achieve it. Now let me show you the mechanism that makes this restructuring possible. November 10th, 2025, BRICS officially launched the unit, a digital currency designed for cross-border trade settlement. The unit isn't fiat, isn't unbacked, isn't trust-based. The unit is backed by physical gold, 40% gold, 60% basket of BRICS currencies. The initial test transaction included 40 grams of actual gold per unit. The blockchain used is Cardano. Settlement is instant. And the purpose is explicit: eliminate dollar dependency in BRICS trade. Let me explain what this means in practice. For 70 years, if India wanted to buy oil from Saudi Arabia, the transaction required dollars. India sells goods to Western markets, earns dollars, uses those dollars to buy Saudi oil. The dollar was the essential middleman, the global reserve currency. But with the unit, India can pay Saudi Arabia directly in a gold-backed token. No dollar conversion, no Western banking system, no SWIFT network, no Fed visibility. The trade happens peer-to-peer, central bank to central bank, using a gold-backed digital asset that both parties trust, because the gold is real, physically allocated, audited, and stored in BRICS member vaults. This is not theoretical. The first commodity trades have already settled using the unit. Oil transactions, agricultural goods, minerals, all bypassing the dollar entirely. And every transaction that happens in unit instead of dollars reduces global dollar demand by that amount permanently. The Federal Reserve's response? Silence. Because what can they say? What can they do? They can't ban the unit. It's not subject to U.S. jurisdiction. They can't sanction it. The countries using it don't need Western financial system approval. They can't compete by offering a gold-backed digital dollar because the U.S. would need gold to back it. And the U.S. only holds 8,133 tons, while BRICS is targeting 25,000 tons. The math doesn't work. The Fed is checkmate. Let me show you the timeline, because this is not a 10-year story. This is happening right now. Phase 1 completed. 2020 to 2023 accumulation phase. BRICS members buy gold quietly, build reserves, establish domestic vaulting. Phase 2 completed. 2023 to 2025 coordination phase. BRICS announces expansion, adds 6 new members, launches the unit in pilot. Gold buying accelerates to record levels. Central banks globally purchase over 1,000 tons in 2024 alone. Gold price rises from 1,800 in early 2023 to 4,400 by January 2026. Phase 3 current, 2026 to 2027 implementation phase. The unit goes operational across all BRICS members. Commodity trades settle in gold-backed currency. More countries express interest in joining BRICS. Western sanctions become less effective because dollar dependency decreases. Gold continues rising as BRICS buys remaining tonnage needed to hit 65% target. Phase 4 projection, 2027 to 2028, dominance phase. BRICS controls 65 to 70% of official gold reserves. The unit becomes widely accepted for commodity trade globally. Oil pricing shifts from dollars to gold-backed unit. U.S. Treasury auctions see declining foreign participation. Fed forced to buy treasuries directly through quantitative easing. Dollar enters hyperinflation trajectory. Now let me address what happens to you personally when this plays out. You're holding dollars, maybe in checking accounts, maybe in savings, maybe in treasury bonds or stock positions, all denominated in dollars. When the unit becomes dominant trade settlement currency, when oil switches from petrodollars to gold-backed BRICS payment, demand for dollars drops. Foreign central banks holding treasuries start selling because they don't need dollar reserves for trade anymore. Treasury auctions see weak demand, yields spike. Fed steps in to buy treasuries with printed money. That's monetizing debt, that's Weimar Republic playbook. Your dollars lose value rapidly. Every month, groceries cost more, gas costs more, rent costs more. Your salary might not increase, but purchasing power collapses. Meanwhile, gold the asset BRICS is using to back their currency goes from 4,000 to 8,000 to 12,000 to 20,000. Not because gold got more valuable, because the measuring stick, the dollar, collapsed. If you're holding physical gold or silver, you preserve wealth. If you're holding dollars, you're holding the currency of a former reserve power that lost its privilege. History shows what happens to former reserve currencies. The Spanish real, the Dutch guilder, the British pound, they all lost 90 to 95% of value relative to gold after losing reserve status. The dollar will follow the same path. The timeline is 18 to 36 months, not 10 years. Within 3 years maximum, dollar dominance ends, BRICS gold strategy succeeds, the unit becomes accepted globally. And Western economies face the choice Russia faced in 2022. Adapt to the new system or get left behind. Except Russia prepared, they accumulated gold for 15 years, built relationships with China and India, developed alternative payment systems. The West did none of that. The West printed money and assumed hegemony was permanent. The endgame is here, not approaching here. Russia just proved it with $130 billion in appreciation while selling metal. BRICS is proving it with record purchases, despite record high prices. The market is proving it with gold at all-time highs, while every traditional indicator says it's overbought. We're not in the old system where Fed policy controlled everything. We're in the transition, the 18 to 36-month window, where the old order dies and the new order is born. You'll look back at January 2026 and realize this was the moment. The moment Russia's gold reserves hit $326 billion. The moment BRICS passed the point of no return. The moment the Fed's powerlessness became undeniable. You'll either be holding gold, positioned for the new system, protected from dollar collapse, or you'll be holding dollars, watching purchasing power evaporate. If this reserve currency transition analysis helped you understand what's actually happening in global monetary systems, hit that like button. Subscribe and turn on notifications because the next phase unfolds over the next 18 months, and you need to understand each development as it happens. Drop a comment. Tell me if you're positioned for this transition or still holding dollar-denominated assets. This is the Equity Edge, where we decode monetary shifts before they become mainstream headlines. Russia's $326 billion gold valuation just changed everything, and the math says the Fed can't stop what's coming.